The Institute of Economic Affairs has called for legal reforms to end the polarization and high tension characterizing the winner-takes-all politics, which it says is threatening Ghana's fledgling democracy in recent times. Several Ghanaians have also expressed concerns about the winner-takes-all politics. Winner-takes-all and the politics of exclusion manifest at various levels of our society, including intra-party level, where those deemed not to have contributed to the electioneering campaign of a candidate or held different views face marginalization and exclusion. So this morning, the IEA is again engaging stakeholders on the subject matter and how Ghana can indeed address the issue. Now, this is not the first time we are having this conversation, and anytime we have the conversation, something new comes up. Now, that is good. So we'll have this conversation again. Today, as part of the conversation, we'll talk about what it would take for this country to change the winner-takes-all attitude. What would it take for us to have a legal backing to this, as the IEA is seeking? David Agbe is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. He's joined me over the telephone on this conversation. David, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Kamani.
David, we are having this conversation again about, you know, the winner-takes-all kind of politics we practice here in this country. But what would it take for us to have this legal reform?
Yes, thank you once again. It tells you how precious your platform is all about, of educating Ghanaians to actually do certain things right, to actually benefit the society. So when you looked at this issue of the winner takes all, it is not good enough for one political party or the other to take all the decisions for the country. But along the line too, you could also realize that in this country or any other jurisdiction, any political party who is ruling at a point in time has the honest decision to actually make sure that whatever decision that they take is in the benefit of the country. So if you have a country that suggests or that seems to actually, propel the country in terms of selling one political ideology, when they assume power, obviously their decision will have a certain, benefit or certain repercussion on the country. So, I mean, we have to also take precedence from, the developed countries, the way they have been able to, craft certain policies that, actually inure to the benefit of the society. So, when you look at Ghana, what we have now, both MPP and DC, when they assume power, they all have their philosophy, they all have their agenda, and so they want to do exactly that, to actually, whether it is going to inure to the benefit of Ghanaians or whatever. But I seriously believe that this winner-takes-all debate will continue to linger, but the fact of the matter is that it will be very difficult for us to change it. But what will be the antidote will be that we have this national what do they call it? I've just forgotten. This institute, which will set the agenda of preparing the national identity, of preparing the national agenda, what the nation needs to do at a certain particular time, so that if you are NDC or MPP, when you come to govern, you need to follow those crafted, strategic interests of the country, so that everybody will be able to follow, rather than MPP coming to power to come and change certain things, NDC coming to power, come and change our educational calendar and all that.
But you see, David, this is the same country where people have been extremely unhappy about what they have described as abuse of democracy in Ghana. How should we practice this winner takes all that we want to eradicate properly so well that we wouldn't have the instance where people will now question why we decided to adopt the multi-party ruling system?
Yes, I think that the antidote of all this matter is where this gentleman, I've just forgotten the name, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, is going to head now. That is the institution that's supposed to prepare all the strategic interests of the country, preparing certain issues and put it on the table and make it legally binding so that if you are MPP or NDC and you assume power, the status quo must remain, only certain things which need to be, changed as a situation demands. But when we have such a policy, it is there, whether you are MPP or NDC, this is the way we want things to be done. If it is educational policy, we have it. If it is about natural resources, management, we have it. If it is about health, we have it. So all those strategic, decisions, are crafted and laid down. So whichever government that you assume office, you need to actually follow it. And that is how the developed nations have done it in US, UK, and other, developed countries. That is the status quo. And so we need to actually ensure that we have a strategic policy that whichever party comes to power, you need to follow it. So in this matter of, a winner takes all debate, it will continue to linger. But the antidote is that we need to have an institution that will be able to prepare a strategic policy for this country. In UK, they have all those policies. And every 5 years or 10 years, they try to, as much as possible, to be able to review all those policies depending on the situation, depending on the contingencies of the country. So I think that Ghana need not to actually bend, the curve, but we need to follow what the developed nations have been able to do, and that prepares them always growing. China.
Speaking of the developed nations and the fact that we could learn from them, which of these nations are we learning from? Are we learning absolutely from them, or would want to do selective learning from these countries?
Karenin, please, let's look at the Asian countries, the way they have been able to, conduct themselves. You take China. China just celebrated their 65th, anniversary now. After the Second World War, right from 1949, China said that they need to take decisions that will be able to benefit their country. At a point in time before the Second World War, people were to the extent that at times, even common food, they don't get food. And so people die out of starvation. But almost about 65 years now, go to China. China is almost ruling the world as we speak. You ask yourself, 65 years, what have they done? Which has transformed the country to the extent that even now, Americans go to China and borrow money. Ghana at that point in time, before the Second World War, Ghana was almost, an icon in African here. But what has been able to transform China to the extent that China is now the second largest economy, and more to the point, they are even ruling the world now. So it tells you that they have a certain strategic mindset and prepare the nation and for the nation to develop. Those countries, they do not have natural resources like Ghana, is blessed with. But they've been able to transform their country. Come to African countries, go to Morocco and see. Every road is south to where you live. But Ghana, we have everything. But look at our roads. So when our leaders are talking, at times, you tend to, you looked at it and you said that our people are not thinking the way we expected them to actually reason beyond average human level. We keep on jumping and saying that Ghana is a blessed country across the West African sub-region and all that. But you realize that we are not doing what must be done to benefit the common Ghanaian. Ghana should have been the most blessed country in African continent, looking at all the natural resources which are surrounded this country. So at a point in time, you don't know what is wrong with our leaders. It is simply that all of them have schooling abroad. But you realize that they are not bringing their knowledge, onto bear. country to the benefit of a common Ghanaian. So it tells you that everything that we are doing in Ghana here, I don't know when our leaders are going to reason beyond average human being and say that the nation needs to actually craft a policy that will be able to develop this country to the maximum. We
Indeed.
have everything in this country. Why are we, still poor? A common Ghanaian cannot get food to eat. Why? In those centuries, in 1945 and 1944, when you tell somebody that he's not getting food to eat, fine enough. But in this modern Ghana, in this millennium, I mean, people are suffering in this country. So, I mean, what do we actually need from God again?
I see. David, we'll leave it here for now. Many thanks for your time. David Agbe is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. There's more to come on this. So what are the legal instruments we would need if Ghana decides to toe the line of moving away from the winner takes all politics we practice here in the country and would want to adopt a more flexible system?